All right, joining us now on Drive the Lane for a third time, I believe, the head coach of the Ohio State men's basketball team, Coach Chris Holtmann. Welcome back to the show.
Great to be with you, Andrew. Great to be with you, Joey, my guy. And yeah, it's good to be back with you.
Coach, my favorite thing about having you on for a third time is your office. It grows with memorabilia every time. What any fun new additions from the last few years since we last talked with you?
I mean, I think my wife added some. Last year we didn't have any memorabilia.
It's a good point. It's a good point.
No reason to put anything up for sure. So yeah, it's I think we put some balls from past, maybe a Maui one up there, maybe. So Maui experience. But yeah, it's good. It's good to be with you guys and look forward to talking Buckeye hoops.
We obviously have a ton to discuss. You guys are fresh off the exhibition against Dayton, but my first question for you, I know that you know this because you're a listener to the show, but we bumped this is Coach Chris Holtmann. You're listening to the Drive the Lane podcast to now this is D'Angelo Russell. You're listening to the Drive the Lane podcast. Thoughts on that before we get into some serious stuff?
You mean I got bumped?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Big time.
I got pushed out of the starting lineup. Well, listen, it's a little hard to hear. It's a little hard to take. But if I'm gonna get bumped, then I would prefer it to be a lottery pick who's enjoying a long and productive NBA career, and somebody like D'Angelo. So I'm good with that. I'll take that.
It was hard for us. It was easy for Andrew. It was hard for me. We'll put it that way. Coach, we you know how these work. We're gonna have fun with you, but we're gonna be serious and get this out of the way now. Last year, not so fun. Obviously, we all know. We won't focus on that. Instead, let's focus on the message for this year's team. Plenty of returners from a team that just frankly didn't have a ton of success outside the last week and a half of the season. What was the message, whether it be from you or guys like Bruce Thornton and Zed Key? What were the messages this summer and in this preseason?
Yeah, no, I think, Joey, it was all about, as I've talked about and shared, it was all about kind of remembering what the experiences that we went through. And we talk about scar tissue and, if you ever have cut yourself or whatever, and you have a scar, you always remember, how that happened. And I think when you have guys that are returning who've been through that, I had never been through an experience like that as a coach, at least not for 10 plus years. And our players, a lot of them had never experienced that. We just had a brutal January and February. We've had everybody in the Big Ten, and the reality, I mean, we show this to our guys, like every program in the Big Ten. Purdue lost 3 of 4 in January, like UConn last year lost, I think, 6 of 7 in January and February. Like, people who follow college basketball know that in really good leagues, you're going to go take lumps. Like Ohio State fans or other fans, they don't always get it because it's a little bit, there are some that come at it with a football mindset where if you lose 1 or 2, it can be, but the reality is you're going to lose them. But that was just, that was a brutal stretch. But I think most Ohio State fans that really follow college basketball and college hoops, they really have a great understanding for how good our league is and how deep it is. And I think last year we take those lessons, we learn, and grow from it. And that's what we'll see how much we've learned from it.
So obviously the game yesterday, it's an exhibition game. It doesn't count on the standings, but it's got to feel good for you and the guys to be able to get off on at least the right foot. At times that I'm sure it felt like a true road environment. Me, you, and Joey, we all know what that UD arena can be like when it's packed. So how good did that feel yesterday, just to really take a good step forward to start the year?
Yeah, it was kind of interesting thing, Andrew, because, he didn't play, his best player more than, I don't think, 16 minutes. And he subbed some guys pretty freely. We played our guys maybe a little bit more than what he played his guys. But having said that, I thought both teams did some really good things. And it's kind of like, hey, you are competing. So if you're competing and you have a chance to win, you'd like to win, right? We all understand how powerful the power of what that game represented, and how much respect I have for Anthony and his wife and his family for doing that. But when you get down to it, you're competing, so you'd like to win the game. I was not too concerned either way, to be honest with you, but it's a tricky thing because you are in the state and people have made so much of us playing there and not playing there and since 1988. So it's like, okay, would I have felt differently if we lost by 10 right now talking to you guys? I probably wouldn't be talking to you guys. So, yeah.
Well, that's why we were sitting there watching the game. Like it was a double win. We were like, I'm not going to send you that text that I did saying, hey, come on the show if you guys don't win that game. So we're glad you won, and we're glad that you're here with us. And I know, knowing you and being in that locker room, that you can't necessarily take as much as you want to, as much as the fans want you to, away from a win like that. But from my point of view, all the positives had nothing to do with the scoreboard for me. And you tell me if I'm off a little bit here. To me, there's a clear emphasis on playing faster, and you guys did, and you were very efficient. And to me, there's a clear emphasis on getting back to the roots of defense, whether that be guarding your man or rotating. Now, rebounding wasn't that good, which they're a really good team anyway, that's big and physical. But to me, the emphasis clearly was playing faster and getting back to the roots of you and being a defensive-minded coach. Were those some positives that you took away last night?
Yeah, no, I think you nailed it, Joey. Yeah, I think you nailed it. I absolutely think those were, the off season was full for us. It's always full because it's recruiting, and while we're not going to have as big of freshman classes here these next couple years because of how young our team still is, the off season's always full of recruiting. But it was really full because we did look at a different way of playing on both ends, not substantially, but in kind of nuanced ways that a guy who's like yourself, that's come to practice and also played the game, both of you guys really know what you're talking about. You're going to be able to see and notice it. So I think for us there was definitely some good things about our pace. I thought our movement offensively was better. And then I thought defensively in the second half, we had much better possessions than what we had in the first half. But biggest takeaway was they really beat us up on the glass, and we have to get better at that.
You got some fun matchups on the schedule this year, one of which Texas A&M. I will be in the building for that game. No pressure, but last time I was in the building, upset the number one team in the country. So big expectations for what could happen in that A&M game. This is a long-winded way of asking a Bruce Thornton question. How lucky is Ohio State to have Bruce Thornton and Marvin Harrison at the school at the same time? I mean, talk about just transcending sports figures right now.
Well, I think Bruce is going to grow because he's not there yet in terms of, I think, our fans really knowing who he is. You guys follow us, so and you follow college basketball. I think in the avid Ohio State college basketball fans know Bruce very well. But in terms of like the widespread, we have to do what I expect us to do and have a better year, much better year. And he has to continue to grow into the player that we believe he is going to be. Winning and that go hand in hand. That's why people love DJ and Kada and JT and, all those guys. So I think that's people are really going to appreciate who he is as a kid and who he is as a player. And then obviously Marvin has done, what he's done this year has been just ridiculous. So it's a pretty special thing. And I'm excited for our fan base to just get to know him at a higher level, because even though he started every game and performed so well down the stretch when we played well, I think it's a different role for him this year. So yeah, the A&M game's great. People have talked about them being kind of a trendy Final Four pick, and it's interesting. Some of the secret scrimmages that I've heard them play, and people have watched them practice, have talked about how really good they are. They're going to be one of the better teams. We've played here in years, so it's a good challenge.
The roster is really exciting. Andrew talked about Bruce. I think he's, with all due respect to every other guy that has come through Ohio State in the last 7 years, I think he's the best point guard you've coached, which you don't have to comment on. I know that I wasn't technically a point guard, so you can save that as well. But the roster is really exciting. Last year was exciting for a different reason. I went and got on my soapbox and talked about how it was incredibly talented and blah, blah, blah. I still don't think I was wrong, but that's okay. This year, we don't need to go through every single guy, but there's 3 categories to every team: freshmen, returners, and transfers. If you could give us a quick blip, 1 sentence, 2 sentences about each category there, whether it's what to be excited about, what holes they filled, and start with the freshmen. What stands out to you about those guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing you realize in the Big Ten is pretty much most teams are talented. That's the reality of being in the best league in the country. I think what you want it to be is old, experienced, and then obviously if you're talented and you're old, that really helps. We know that that's what wins. It's not youth that's talented.
Right.
I mean, how many years do we have to say that over and over right now? Like, it's not young talent doesn't win at a high level in college basketball. So, when I hear that, I say, okay, great. But the reality is you really need that youth to get weathered by the up and the learning how to play, how to attack, all the things that come with college basketball. I'm excited that we have that with a returning group of guys, even though sophomores are young and Felix still looks young out there, and Roddy's going to look young at times, and Bruce, Evan, Mahaffey, those 4 guys have experience under their belt. Yes, there are older teams we're going to play. There are teams that have more 5 stars or whatever that we're going to play. But I think what we have is a group of returning guys, when you include Zed, that have experience, that are good players, and that are going to grow in front of our eyes. You add in the 3 transfers. I'm excited about those 3 guys. Joey, you've talked about that. Evan, Jameson, and Dale, because they add something to our team that we really needed. And then the 4 freshmen, I think, are all going to help us. But it may vary. And, they may not all help us a significant amount this year, but I think they all have the potential to grow into good players.
Coach, when I look at the roster, and this is now transitioning to fun questions, when I look at the roster, I can't help but think, and take recruiting and rules and all that aside, theoretically, this team could be, senior year of EJ Liddell, year 3 of Malachi, year 2 of Bryce Sensabaugh. My question is a fun question. This team now, summer work's over, the season's about to begin. Which one of those guys, if you could pick those NBA guys to slide onto this team, would you pick?
Oh man, what a question. Like picking your kids, man. Like if there was a fire in the house, who would you want to save? Like that's a hard question, man.
You're lucky it's not last year. Dwayne would be in the mix too.
Yeah, no, Dwayne, right? We thought we were going to have Dwayne that one year. And then Malachi kind of came into his own and helped us absorb that hit. Listen, I would take all 3 in a heartbeat. I would love to have one more guard that could that could help us. So I'll just say I'll leave it at that, but I'll take any of them and move them to the guard spot. So if we had one more healthy guard, we'll move EJ to the guard, we'll move Malachi to the guard, we'll move Bryce to the guard.
So let's rephrase Andrew's question a bit in a different fun way. Who's your starting 5 and 6 man from this is year 7, right? So including this team, if there's a guy there, but who's your starting 5? We'll give you a 6 man as well, so you don't have to cut it to 5. But this one I think is fair game. I don't think you're going to hurt people's feelings. I think you have thought about this before, probably just about every night before you go to bed. Who's your
starting 5 for this season, or
no, I wouldn't ask you who the starting 5 is going to be. That's not a fun question. Who's your Chris Holtmann Buckeyes starting 5?
You're
guys you've coached, and we'll give you a 6th man so that you don't have to leave a guy out, and then we'll also give you like Andrew Dockich as your GA so that you don't have to leave him out either.
Yeah, this does not I don't want to include current players.
Perfect.
This does not include current players. Probably man.
It's not supposed to be easy.
It's not easy. I'm just going to rattle off a bunch of guys. I would probably go. Caleb's really been the only real true center. But I would probably go a little bit, maybe Keita and EJ as the forwards, JT as a wing, Malachi, and Dwayne in the backcourt. Because Dwayne didn't love to pass early in his career, so Malachi would play the point, and Caleb as a guy that could be in that bunch as well. CJ Walker, I'd potentially throw in that. Hard to pass on Kyle Young. I loved coaching Jamar. I mean, it made me go down the line there of the guys that I love to coach. Obviously, Bryce was a phenomenal scorer. So I'm sure I'm leaving a couple guys out, but I don't know if that answers it or not.
It does. And it gives us enough to make a graphic, which we won't actually do, and get everybody really mad at you. We wouldn't do it.
Don't put that on social media. Make people listen to it so they can see the full answer.
Yeah, we'll just put the whole clip. We'll put
I know what media people do. They take a clip, shorten it, and they put the most salacious part out on Twitter or X or whatever the hell it's called now. Okay. And then they leave out the rest of the part. Don't be that.
That's never been us and never will be us.
I know.
We're just going to cut it off right when you said, I got 5 guys for you, and these are my 5 favorites, and we'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Great. Perfect.
Coach, Perfect. over the last few years, whether it was Malachi or Bryce, I remember Joey said to me last year after Buckeyes on the Blacktop, he was like, enjoy Bryce Sensabaugh because this guy's unbelievable. I don't know how long he's going to be at Ohio State. As a coach with far superior basketball knowledge than Joey, are you able to identify that kind of stuff super early, or are you just so locked in to the season that it's not even coming into your mind, first few games of the season, wow, this guy could be an NBA guy way earlier than we thought?
Well, there are prototypes that fit the NBA that maybe might take more time to be a really good college player, but could transition to the NBA quicker. Like Drew Timme was like for 3 years the best player in college basketball, won so many games. In a perfect world, you really want to recruit as many of those guys as you can. But I think he just got cut from an NBA team.
Yeah.
All right. Wings that can score just naturally are the NBA can't get enough of them. They cannot get enough of them. So when we knew that Bryce could score at the clip he could, we thought there's a chance because the NBA can't get enough of him. Now, that doesn't mean we haven't seen a kid who's like, wow, he's going to be a really good college player and can really impact our team, maybe even in some ways more than a one and done. But he doesn't fit the NBA as much right now. So the fact that Bryce could score like he could, sometimes people conflate like one and dones with the impact. Well, if you have one and dones, it's automatically like those guys, that guy's going to really impact winning at a ridiculously high level. That's not really how it works as much. Bryce would, I think, really have benefited if he had maybe a guy like EJ Liddell, an all-conference player along with him like Malachi, to carry a Kyle Young, even Jamari to carry some of the load there. So all that to say, I saw it pretty early that he had that chance because he very incredible offensive talent and a really good kid. A really good kid that's only going to get better and better. I mean, you just watch him. He's only going to get better and better.
I think it's safe to say that one thing that we've talked about, and you just touched on it a lot, I've gone and seen a few practices. We've talked quickly after. The thing that I think is different about this team than last year's team, and Andrew alluded to it, you mentioned it. There's a difference between talented, young, incredible NBA future guys and just plain old, really, really, really good college basketball players. Yes. And you look at every team that wins the Big Ten, that wins the national championship, that makes Sweet 16s and Final Fours. They have guys like EJ Liddell, Kyle Young, and Jayshawn Tate. They might have a Bryce Sensabaugh, but that means they're probably competing for a national championship, but they don't have the Bryce Sensabaughs of the world. And that's no knock to Bryce, and it's no knock to Kyle either. My question to you is not necessarily, elaborate on that because that's all good and documented. What I'm more curious about is who do you foresee as that Kyle Young-esque guy on the team this year?
Well, I really like Evan's role in that regard, Evan Mahaffey. Now, I also think he has a bright future ahead of us and, can have a chance to play at the next level for sure. He's got to get better at some things. But I think he brings that kind of energy and athleticism, not quite as big as Kyle, but can really sit down and guard guys. Has to do some things better, but he'd be the guy that comes to mind for sure. If you're talking about that guy that you're saying, man, like Kyle, think about this. Kyle Young led our team in plus minus that was a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament and was our 5th leading scorer, maybe our 5th leading scorer. He was behind CJ Walker, Dwayne, EJ, maybe our 4th leading, or maybe Zed. No, I don't think it was Zed that year. But anyway, he was our 4th or 5th leading scorer. He led our team in plus minus. And when we lost him in the Big Ten tournament, we were still able to get to the finals, but we really needed him in the NCAA tournament. So those guys are invaluable to have a guy that keeps things together like Kyle did for us.
I told you, and I've said it a million times on the radio, on Twitter, to whoever will listen to me, that Mahaffey's been the guy who's been the most impressive guy, bar none. You know what you're getting out of Bruce. Like, I know he's great. Dale Bonner is really exciting for me because he gives like this defensive guard that seems like has been lacking. But Evan, just like Andre Wesson, Kyle Young, that's all I see when he plays. And that's really exciting. Like I can't get enough of him. And he comes from Penn State, which, is a phenomenal program. He was coached well. Yeah. They were a really good team. He did not play very much on a bad team. They were the best Penn State team that I can ever remember. So I can echo, and obviously when you hear Coach Holtmann talk about something, you might sit back and go, okay, well, that's his guy. Of course he's going to say that. I don't have to say that. And I echo, what you're saying. And all that to say is I'm pretty excited about this group. I will maintain the excitement. I know you guys are playing this weekend again in a not so secret scrimmage in Nashville against Clemson, who we saved this for the show. We got to talk about the maddest I've ever seen you, because we played Clemson when I was a junior, your first year at Ohio State. I won't necessarily let you walk you through the story because you might not have even remembered, because I really haven't seen you as mad as you were then. But for all of those who don't know, we lost to a very good Clemson team. Our first home game after PK 80. We had all this buzz. Kata's playing well. We're wearing our fresh new uniforms. It's a free student game. It's packed. And we mail it in the last minute. We lose what could have been a 3 or 4 point game. We make it a 10-point game. You come in and throw the marker, and it makes a mark, which is always funny when you throw the marker and the cap flies off and it makes a mark. And then you went, I don't know if it was a closed fist or open fist, but you hit the whiteboard, which is, it's not like a standalone whiteboard if you can picture it. It's a full-on like wall that he basically punched. And didn't say anything to us, said we'll see you practice tomorrow, and walked away. And I remember looking around like, well, I'm gonna die tomorrow. I don't know about these guys who are actually in shape, but I'm gonna die tomorrow. Any comment on playing Clemson again for the first time since that moment?
Well, I'm not actually able to officially acknowledge. I don't think that we're playing it, but it sounds like you've got good sources.
That's right. That's what I've heard.
What I will tell you is, like, that's a thing for me, is I just can't stand it when, teams kind of have a loser's limp when they're losing and they just mail it in the last 30 seconds or minute or whatever. That was probably what I was reacting to. That was one of my all-time favorite teams to coach, as it was a incredible team, but that was a frustrating moment. I think we had just come off the PK 80, like you said. Where we were struggling. It was before we really got rolling.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've punched some whiteboards in my time, and I've broken some bones doing that. I've kicked some things. I've thrown coolers.
Did you get that mad as a player?
No, not really. I've gotten angrier as a coach than as a player. I mean, I've the whole nine. When I was my first head coaching job, I took a whole thing of Gatorade cooler and just threw it. It was when you could throw things near players and not get fired.
Yeah.
The good old days.
Yes. Where did those, like, I mean, you didn't even, some would say throwing it at players, but even if it was just near them, and if it ricocheted and hit him in the shin, nowadays you can't do that. You can't throw it anywhere near a player.
Guys will transfer and get you fired.
That's right. That's right. and I'm joking, obviously, but yeah, I pitched a cooler, Gatorade, water everywhere, ice. Man, yeah, that was a frustrating moment, but man, did we get rolling after that. January.
Yeah, that's all we needed. You knew how to push the buttons.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Andrew, you got anything else for Coach?
I have one final question. I've definitely asked you this before, and I'm going to ask you it until it happens. You guys are doing all these.
Cruel Summer. Oh, you asked my favorite Taylor Swift song?
I'm not going to ask you, Taylor. The bit is done with Taylor. We know you love Taylor.
All right.
My question is, I've asked you this before. You're doing things with Dayton that haven't been done in 100 years. You're doing things at different arenas in Columbus. When are you going to play the Missouri Tigers? Because I'm ready for the Ohio State Mizzou home and home. Who do I have to call? Who do I have to pay to make it happen? It needs to happen.
Call me.
I've told you, because you've said, "Oh, I need to call you."
Yes,
let's do it. I will call
private line. On a private line. Okay. We've got to talk on a private line, and then we'll see. No, I would like to do that. I think I've told you that. I don't, you know how it is, Andrew, like scheduling's like 3 years out. So, but we are looking for a home and home for next year. So we'll place a call. We'll place a call. I think we have someone else who you will really like to watch. If we don't play them, we have potentially a very attractive home and home. It's more of, I'll leave it at that. about to be signed. But if we don't do that, Missouri is our next call.
There we go. That's all I need. I've had dreams where it's the Final Four, the Sweet 16, Elite Eight, and it's Mizzou, Ohio State, and Joey and I do an episode of Drive the Lane with you. And, Coach Conzo Martin was when the dream first started happening, and now it's Coach Gates. So if that could just happen one time, that would be great. That's all I ask. That's my yearly ask. Last time it was Duke. This time, Duke ticket. This time it's a home and home with Mizzou.
Well, part of what I do every morning is wake up and say, how can I make Andrew stay here? Okay. So I will do my best to, no, I'm serious. We actually, that'd be a cool home and home. Just so you guys are scheduling for me, I want to schedule SEC schools. Part of it is I like the idea that they are contracted with ESPN. That's what part of the reason we did A&M, because we know that we want to try to stay on ESPN for a couple games a year. Yep. So I'd like to pick up another SEC school.
All right, Coach, I have my final question, but before we'll go final question first, then I'll give you my advice, which I haven't given you in a long time about something completely beyond winning games. But the last question, you've been asked this twice. I'm sure you have it. I wouldn't be surprised if on the back of the practice plan today, you had this written down already, but do you have any questions for us? You've got your own show now. We haven't talked to you since you have your own show.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions for us?
No. Do you, I mean, how many episodes do you guys have right now?
1 million. It feels like it.
Hey, you guys are turning, is it like once a week or twice a month?
Once a week during football, basketball season. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, I know. It's a lot of work for Andrew. I just show up.
Oh, is that right? You're just the talent?
I don't even know if I'm the talent at this point. I'm just another guy. I just show up.
That's impressive. Twice a month.
It's yeah. Well, it'll give Andrew some more credit. It's 4 times a month.
4 times a month, Andrew.
Yeah.
We're gonna
no real question.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
And no real questions outside of, do you guys still enjoy it after a few years?
Yeah, it feels like a job now. I mean, it's just brutal, but yeah, we enjoy it.
No, someone asked us a few weeks ago, why are you guys still doing it? And I said, because we still haven't gotten guys like D'Angelo Russell on the show. And then 2 months later, we had D'Angelo Russell. So I'm ready to pack it in.
Andrew's like, let's. Coach Holtmann, I got our last episode called it.
2 guys left on the bucket list. Maybe you can help with one of them. LeBron. And I don't remember who the other one was. It might have been Mike Conley, which is not.
Coach, you'll think this is hilarious. Mike, I saw Mike. I went up to him. I said, Mike, I've asked you 1,000,000 times. It's the summer. You're free. Can you take 20 minutes and come on the show? We'd love to have you. We've had every guy you can think of besides that. And he goes, yeah, put your number in my phone and I'll text you or call you, whatever. Let me guess if he called me or texted me. He didn't. But that's okay. We'll get him eventually. But
Distance.
I can appreciate you not having a question yet still asking a question. You're the only guy that will let get away with that, because normally we would press you so that you asked a real question. But my advice, Iowa women's basketball just did it. The Nebraska women's volleyball team just did it. Can we do Buckeyes on the blacktop in the shoe next year? I feel like that could move the needle a bit.
Or an exhibition game.
Right.
Against
Mizzou
Tigers. There you go. We're cooking something up here.
We
are cooking something up pretty good.
We'd have to MC that event if that actually happened.
That's okay.
Ohio State versus Mizzou in the shoe. Get us in there as the MCs.
Yes, that would be quite the event. That would be the event. That would be the must-see event outside of football games in the fall. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. But no, that's a good idea. Those are really cool events. Those 2 games were
amazing.
At a high level. That was amazing.
So great. And I know that's not something you guys haven't thought about, but I figured I'd just throw it out there for whatever it's worth, because that would make me happy. And again, I know you just aim to please me and Andrew. So
I do. I'm all about other venues for our hoops games. You know that. I would.
Yeah.
St. John's out. We can't do that anymore for a variety of reasons, as much as I loved it and would love to do it more. But but anyway, Yeah, it's a good idea. Good idea.
Well, Coach, thanks for your time. Always fun. We'll see you on the 10th, which talk about a good weekend to be a Buckeye fan. That game and then night game against MSU the next night. That's why the Lane family's coming into town. That's why Andrew's coming into town. I mean, it's really exciting stuff.
Should be a great weekend. I'm glad. Obviously, we've got work before that. We've got Oakland. Then we have a team right after them that's won the most, has the longest regular season winning streak in college basketball right now in Merrimack. They play this great 2-3 zone. But obviously, the A&M game is, as I told you, I think they're a potential Final Four team. It should be as good a team as we played in here in a while. So be great to see everybody. Good to see you guys here for that weekend. Looking forward to it.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks,
All
Coach.
right, guys. Great being with you. See you.